Hello everybody, it's Monday, August 28th, 2017, and I'm doing a major update. Well, not live, this is on almost live update, because I'm hoping to upload this video tonight or tomorrow at the latest, if I can, because I haven't been able to upload videos lately, and you're going to understand why here in a moment. But there's been some very major changes in my life and my situation and what is currently going on with Little Blue 2, Camp Freedom 2, and everything. Those of you who have been following the series from the beginning have an idea, possibly, or understand that me living in the van wasn't actually intentional. It was an issue that occurred, and it was almost accidental, or maybe it was destiny or fate that put me into this position. But there's been a lot of major situational developments that occurred very suddenly and unexpectedly. So I'm trying to sort it out to see what the best way to explain it to you is. And I think I'll start off by saying that timing is like everything. If you've been following this series, then you know that I have taken my Presumed Guilty channel down and replaced it with Winds of Change, which was actually one of the chapters from the Presumed Guilty, with one of the final chapters from Presumed Guilty. And Winds of Change is my new channel where I plan on talking about everything, ranging from my biography to philosophies to just stories about me, and letting viewers share their stories with me and other viewers as well. We tend to broadcast live on there whenever possible. For those of you wanting to tune in, that channel is called Winds of Change. This particular channel, I am still going to keep going. It has to do with van dwelling and van dwelling tips and whatnot, and Camp Freedom 2, and the hut and the yurt and all that. Although that might change. To bring you up to date, this Friday, I met up with a viewer, okay? And what's interesting is he's a longtime viewer who wrote me and said that, he was a big fan of the channel, and he and a friend were big fans of my channel, and that my channel was helping to make a difference in his life. That he'd been watching my situation and my struggles and my determination to keep moving forward, and my positive message that, despite all this craziness going on all around me and my situation, that I continued to press forward, and that was really inspiring him and helping him out with his own struggles and his own situation right now. And what's interesting about this particular viewer is, believe it or not, he's a former cop. He's actually a former deputy sheriff. And he was a long-time deputy sheriff, but he left the force, and is that in itself is a long, complicated story, which I won't go into detail about. But basically, he's decided that he didn't want to do it anymore, and he'd been following my story, so not just the Living in a Van, but the Presumed Guilty channel, which is now Winds of Change. And he knew my story, so he knew the backstory and everything that happened, and could relate to it, and could actually understand how it could happen and how it did actually happen, and resulted in me being here in a van. Well, to make a long story short, Walter is in process of changing himself. He just recently left the sheriff's department and is reestablishing his new life. So in essence, he's currently going through his own winds of change. And part of that is this. which is like coincidences and weirdness, okay? Walter and Rob got together and they were talking about it. They watched the channel and are fans of the Living in a Van channel, and decided that they wanted to help me with my situation because they had the opportunity to do so. Well, specifically, Walter did, and even Rob is trying to help me. And so, I've made some new friends. And what's interesting is they're local, so they're around here in Brevard County. So, although Walter's about to not be local anymore because of what's about to happen. As Walter was getting ready to retire or leave the sheriff's department, he took all his money and he bought a house in Melbourne. It's not like a big house or anything like that, but it's a nice, comfortable house, a cozy house. And it's where he's planning on, retiring and just living peacefully and stuff. But the thing is, Walter has some personal matters, some personal business he's got to resolve right now. And his family is actually up north in the United States. So he's planning on taking off and going to be with his family here for the next 6 months to maybe a year. Well, he and Rob were talking about it, and they're like, timing is like everything. Walter is trying to move on with his life and deal with his situation and make some changes for himself. And his house was going to sit here vacant. Now, he could rent the house out and try to make some money on it, but because he was a fan of this channel, he decided to do something just unheard of or unbelievable. He ended up contacting me to see if I might be willing to work out a deal with him to house sit. Now, I am kind of renting the place, but it's not at full value. So he's kind of letting me do like a pseudo house sit and rental. So instead of charging me full value of the rental, he's actually letting me rent it for a very affordable price in exchange for some work that I'm going to do on the house and the yard and whatnot. So as of this weekend, I am not officially living in the van anymore. I'm actually now living in a house in Melbourne. But truth be told, even though I'm sort of in a house, which will allow my family to be reunited, my wife and her daughter will be living there with me, and then my children, when they come to visit, can spend the night at this house. So for the first time in a very, very long time, I might actually get some stability. I hope this wind noise isn't too much, because I'm, driving and the wind is like really, really strong here. Get this window up a little bit. I don't know if that's better, but anyhow, by Walter allowing me to rent his house, I'm going to actually have stability again. Now, I'm still currently working as a handyman in Cocoa, so that's kind of far from Melbourne. So during the duration of this job, working as a handyman, I think I'm going to continue to live in the van. That way I don't have to commute back and forth. Because I can't afford the gas. It's too far, and for what I'm getting paid, it's not enough. But on the weekends when I'm off work, I'll be able to move into the house and, stay at the house with my family and see my kids and my family and just spend family time in a real house again. So I wanted to thank Walter from the bottom of my heart. This means so much to me. And it may be the start of a new foundation for me. Things still aren't where they should be, but when you look at where I started, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, roughly a year ago, with, what was it, $4 in my pocket, and no job, no nothing, kind of being forced to live in my van, this is a big step. I'm currently working, even though it's a part-time job and will end soon. YouTube is actually picking up thanks to viewers such as you, for you watching the channel and watching the series. If you're wanting to help out and you're new to the channel and kind of a little confused as to what's going on, you can help me out and learn the backstory by watching my playlists. I have a playlist. If you want to learn about Little Blue 2 and the build of Little Blue 2, you'll want to watch the playlist for the van build. If you want to know about my personal story and how I ended up living in a van and talking to you right here, right now about renting a house from Walter at a very affordable price and doing a trade deal with him, watch my vlogs. And I do highly recommend watching the vlogs in sequence because it will help to explain a lot of things that you're going to hear us reference and talk about. You know, crazy, nutty things like flying men, skunk apes, the yurt, Camp Freedom 2, the hut, the portalet, the flying men. Just crazy stuff, okay? But they're all explained in detail, and you can actually watch as they're happening on the vlogs, my Living in a Van vlogs. Now, I also have subcategories for those who are interested in the yurt, and I don't think I have one for the hut, but I also have the Cooking with Denoy series for those of you who are just interested in learning how to cook in your vehicle or just cook some food. Some are in the vehicle, some are out. And actually with the house, those of you who have been dying for some more interesting foods and the simple meals that I normally prepare while I'm in the van, you can look forward to some of the new episodes I'll be doing with Cooking with Denoy when I have access to a kitchen and I can actually make different types of food. So look forward to those. But the big news, and I'm going to leave this episode off with that, is this. So I met with Rob for the first time and Walter, and they were such big fans, and because of the generosity and kindness, you know, I wanted to show them, because they're locals too, they're in this area, I wanted to give them a personal tour of the set, if you want to call it that, all the locations and whatnot that we've been shooting the series at. So they went with me and actually got to meet Tiny and her friends, and we fed them. So expect to see that episode where Rob and Walter are actually out there with me at the FIT Botanical Gardens feeding Tiny and her friends. And then this is so weird and crazy, it is unbelievable. And those who have been following my channel know how stuff just like, I seem to be a magnet for like interesting situations and whatnot. I decided to take Rob and Walter out to the compound. And because they told me they were fans of the channel, I had them navigate. I had them try to steer me in the compound to Camp Freedom 2, so you get to watch that episode. And finally, we make it to the camp, okay? And something humongous happens at the camp. I don't know if I should tell you or not, but it is very big. Maybe I will go ahead and tell you, because a lot of you, some of you like suspense, so maybe I'll leave it. But then, you know, I think about it, I was like, you know what? It's suspenseful for me too, even right now, because I still don't know what the outcome will be. So let me sign off by telling you what happened at the camp. Okay? So I took Walter and Rob out there, and we bought some pork chops, you know, stewed pork chops, and also the shish kebab things, because we were going to go cook on the rocket stove. Because I figured, you know, they were such big fans, and they're here, and they've been so generous and kind to me that we would go out and do a cookout so they could see and feel what it's like to be out there at the camp during the cookout, to cook on that cinder block, the new cinder block rocket stove and grill. So we were going to go out there and make shish kebabs, eat it with rice, and then hang out at the hut and the yurt. Well, of course, if you've been following the series, you know, every time I try to plan something big like that, like building the rocket stove and testing it, or working on Little Blue 2, it always opens up. The sky opens up and pours rain. I think it's part of Hurricane Harvey that's hitting Texas right now. This may be part of the same storm system. But Florida's been getting bands and bands of rain, really bad rain and whatnot. So the rain was coming in as we were heading out to the camp after we bought our supplies. But we went ahead and headed out there anyways, even though it was raining. It was literally raining while we got there, which kind of canceled our plans for cooking shish kebabs out there, which was terrible. But the camp looked disheveled. Things were all over the place. I was like, somebody's been here, or the wind has blown. Might have been really bad storms, and things have like blown all over the place. I had not been back out to that area in about 2.5, 3 weeks. Maybe 3 weeks. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 weeks. So I started to clean up a little bit and went into the hut. And if you recall, we have the sign-in book for the hut, and you know, for visitors to Camp Freedom 2. And somebody had signed in that they visited on the 18th of August. But then there was a note on the 24th of August from a gentleman who claims to be the owner of the land, the property, where Camp Freedom and everything is built. Yeah. And he wants me to contact him, or, you know, he says the police may end up arresting me. And that's where we're at right now. And I think this is a good stopping point, because I'm not sure what's going to happen. Until next time, everybody, keep your fingers crossed, pray for me, and hope for the best.